across the Clyde estuary is from Ardrossan on board the first of Caledonain Macbraye's mini liners, appropriately named Isle of Arran. The route past Ailsa Craig, that lonely rocky sentinel far to port, is to Arran, Scotland in miniature, the island which forms a magnificent romantic backcloth to the whole outer firth. From Arran to Kintyre, and from Kintyre at Kennacraig west to Islay on the ferry Iona, landing at Port Ellen in the south, or here in the north at Port Askaig, with the lofty paps of Jura across the Sound. Islay has its Caileys, its Celtic crosses, its barnacle geese, its prosperous farms and its distilleries. Islay malts like Laphroaig, Bunnahaving and Bowmore are renowned the world o'er. They are robust and manly, full of the peatiness so important in the distillation process. Whisky is one of Scotland's main contributions to the good life. The round church at Bowmore was built in that way so that there were no corners for the devil to hide in. And like most of the Hebridean Isles, Islay has a wheen of good hotels. The busy, popular holiday town of Oban has been for over 100 years the main single port for the Western Isles. A railhead situated at the junction of 5 arms of the sea and Journey's End for 3 major highways, it is an ideal starting point for exploring the Hebrides. Every 2 hours the ferry sails to the Isle of Mull, past the magnificent MacLean stronghold of Duart Castle on its dark headland to the terminal at Craignure. From here we can travel on the quaint, miniature 10¼ gauge steam and diesel railway through the attractive gardens of the Torresay estate to Torresay Castle itself. To the north of Craignure lies Tobermory, capital of Mull, reached by an exhilarating road, or if preferred, direct from Oban on board the steamer bound for the low-lying Hebridean twins Coll and Tiree. Tobermory, with the most central and safest anchorage in the Western Isles, is famed as a yachtsman's paradise. It was of course in this bay that the paymaster's galleon of the Spanish Armada sank in 1588. All attempts to recover the treasure have ended in failure. Mull is a dramatic mountainous island. The Ross of Mull, the long peninsula which thrusts itself out for many miles into the Atlantic, leads to the village of Finneport. Here the ferry is waiting to take us to the sacred Isle of Iona, the jewel in the Hebridean crown. St. Oran's Chapel and the Relic Oran, burial place of many of Scotland's early kings and noblemen, and beyond to St. Martin's Cross and Iona Abbey itself, built on the site of Columba's original monastery. Columba, that high-born Irish saint who landed in Iona in 563 AD and used the island as a base for his missionary journeys to conquer Scotland for Christ. The abbey has been lovingly restored by the Iona community, founded by George MacLeod. Truly, Iona is a place of pilgrimage and peace. The little Loch Moor leaves the fishing port of Mallaig for the small isles of Eigg, Muck, Rum and Canna. The car ferry takes us over the sea to Skye, though strictly the song refers to Bonnie Prince Charlie's journey from the Outer Isles and not the mainland. Skye, the winged or misty isle, is a wonderland for the geologist. From the bizarre shapes of the Kerrang and the hills of Trotternish in the north, past the pleasant little town of Portree, sited round a sheltered harbour and perched high above it, past Dunvegan Castle of the MacLeods, to nature's masterpiece of the Hebrides, the fantastic ridge of the Black Cuillin. The quickest and easiest crossing to Skye is from Kyle of Lochalsh to Kylaken. It only takes a few minutes. And a drive of 50-odd miles from Kylaken brings us to Uig, where one of Caledonain Macbraye's most modern mini-liners, the Hebridean Isles, is waiting to cast off for the Outer Isles into the setting sun. You can take advantage of the Hebridean drive-away ticket offering package island touring holidays, or the Car Rover, the runabout ticket where you have the added pleasure of planning your own itinerary. We are now in the land of the Gael, where Gaelic is still widely spoken even today. The people who croft here are hardy indeed. They are the descendants of those who survived when entire communities were mercilessly cleared off the land to make way for sheep. But though they are Atlantic islands ravaged in winter by sea and wind, they are renowned for their clean, fresh, almost luminous air. From each other are now connected by causeway. On the rocky eastern shores are to be found safe anchorages. In the centre there are lochs which afford some of the best brown trout fishing in Europe, and especially in the most northern island of Lewis there is flat moorland covered by heather and peat, the staple fuel of the crofters. Wildflowers stud the Macher, which backs the great shell sand beaches of the west coast. One of the wonders of the island of Harris is Try Luscantire, a tongue of sand measuring 2 square miles when the tide is out, backed by the blue hills of North Harris. Ancient monuments abound in the Outer Hebrides, but the pride of Lewis, the standing stones of Callanish, are in Britain second only to Stonehenge. The main link to the Isle of Lewis is the largest of all the Caledonain Macbraye ferries, the Sullivan, named after the conspicuous mountain on the mainland many miles across the Minch. The Sullivan disgorges as many as 80 cars a time at the terminal in Stornoway after her 3-hour passage from Aleppo. Lunches, evening meals, and even breakfasts are available in the self-service restaurants of the ferries on the longer routes. These restaurants are always open for snacks, and the fully licensed bars on board are also at the customer's service while the vessel is at sea. Comfortable sleeping berths and day cabins are also available on certain routes. The steamer Claymore leaves Loch Boysdale in South Uist early in the morning for the voyage across the Sea of the Hebrides to Oban. Passengers can board the ship the evening before if they have reserved sleeping accommodation. Even although the exposed west coast is buffeted by the Atlantic swell, the almost landlocked harbours to the east are always safe. The southernmost of the outer isles served by Caledonain Macbraye is Barra. The ferry calls at Castle Bay, an excellent and almost totally enclosed harbour, whose castle seems to rise up out of the sea 150 yards offshore. It is Kishmel Castle, the ancient seat of the MacNeils. The only town in the outer isles is Stornoway. On the far side of the harbour, in the grounds of Lewis Castle, now a technical college, is the biggest wood in the Hebrides. Stornoway is the administrative centre of Cornlan and Yelan, the Western Isles Council. Here you will find many churches, for the people are staunchly Presbyterian. Many good hotels and bars, fish processing plants, and the mills for the famous Harris Tweed. But the harbour is the centre of Stornoway, as befits the capital of the Hebrides. Islands of great beauty and grandeur, with a very real sense of history, set in a silver sea. Na bia fata conchiliach, haste ye back. Caledonain Macbraye annually carry 4.5 million passengers, 900,000 cars, and 100,000 commercial vehicles on their Clyde and Hebridean ferries. To do so, they have a fleet of 31 ships, and they serve 23 beautiful Scottish islands: Arran, Barra, Bute, Cana, Coll, Colonsay, Cumbria, Egg, Skye, Harris, Iona, Islay, Lewis, Lismore, Muck, Mull, Rasay, Rum, Scalpay, Skye, Tiree, North Uist and South Uist. Truly, it is Caledonain Macbraye who can take you on the SeaRoad to the Isles.